props. I've got a blanket and I've got a strap, so I'm going to set myself up. I'm going to come down onto my back. If I need anything for behind my skull, that works too. Just hands behind the knees, making a nice C with your spine as you come down. Arriving so that the pelvis is supported by that blanket. And you're just going to have that strap nice and handy. And a belt from bathrobe will work, or a long piece of rope. And then just start by pulsing the legs to you and away from you gently. And then just allow the knees to come apart, come to you, come together, go away from you as we make these nice big circles with the knees. And just exploring that range. And then changing direction with the circles. And then letting those feet come onto the floor one at a time is gentler for the back. Then allowing those knees to touch. We're going to heel toe those feet as wide as we can without the knees coming apart. We're going to keep those knees together. And then we're going to pigeon toe the feet just slightly so that the baby toe edge of the foot is nice and straight. Placing your hands on your belly, close your eyes, and just start to take a few big, beautiful breaths into your belly. Let's go 5 more breaths here. And inviting your mind to join your body in this practice by using your breath. And then staying in this position, you're going to take your fingers, you're going to grab your shoulders with all 10 fingers. You can squeeze the shoulders, and then we're going to start to make big, slow circles with the elbows. I'm just really exploring that range. And then changing direction with those circles. Better, but we don't want it to be uncomfortable. And if the elbows or the shoulders feel like this is uncomfortable, just take your hands away from your shoulders as you do this movement. And then elbows out of shoulders height. You're going to open and close your elbows. And then elbows to the floor, you're going to come up and down with those arm bones. And then releasing those arms beside you, palms facing up, let your shoulders relax, close your eyes, breathing here. And then placing your hands on your rib cage, elbows on the floor, take your knees apart, point your feet in the same direction as your knees, walk those feet away from you, dig your heels in, and without the rib cage moving, we're going to windshield wiper our legs from side to side, keeping the ribs nice and stable as the legs move from side to side. The next time those legs come down to the right, you're going to take the legs to the right, but you're going to pick up the right knee, and I want you to feel like you're kind of moving your pelvis and the backs of the legs towards that side. Sorry, I'll come down to the left side, so the legs come down to the left side. You lift that right knee up a little bit, and you move your legs and your pelvis a little bit to that side, to that left side. And then just breathing here, really trying to keep your ribs flush on the floor, elbows rooting into the floor. And then just really finding your breath here. Big, beautiful inhales and exhales. And then we're going to go back and forth like a windshield wiper. And then allowing your legs to come down to the right. Again, feel like you can lift up that left knee and move the back of the left pelvis, the back of the left leg towards the right side of the mat as you find your breath. Big inhales, big exhales. And then bringing those knees back up to center, walk those feet in. You're going to draw your legs up into your strap. So bend in your knees. You're going to take the strap over the soles of the feet. I'm going to take off my socks at this point. And then with the strap over the soles of the feet, you're going to cross the strap in front of the ankles. And then you're going to pull the strap in two directions. And again, if it feels like it's a lot for your back, you can just bend your knees a little bit. But ideally, eventually, you want to have your legs straight. My strap is crossed. I'm going to lift my elbows, pull them apart, arms apart, and my feet apart. So as I pull on the strap, it's going to want to pull my feet together, but instead of letting that happen, I'm going to karate chop the feet firmly into the strap. Close your eyes and breathe. I like to find a nice big belly breath here. So as I inhale, my belly is going to lift and expand. As I exhale, my belly is going to sink, shrink, and fall. Let's take 5 more breaths here. And then let your legs come together, release the left foot, bend your knee, put that left foot on the floor, and as you gently pull the leg to you, I want you to point and flex that right foot. If you want it to be deeper, you can start to straighten out that opposite leg, the left leg. If you want it to be gentler, you bend that left knee. Then flex that foot, and you're going to draw zeros with the heel. Just allowing that leg to make circles towards the ceiling. Pressing the opposite foot into the floor and encouraging it to stay with with neutral rotation where the knee and the foot are pointing the exact same direction as we change direction with the circles. And then stopping with the circles, you're going to think of an internal and external rotation of that right leg like it's a screwdriver. I want you to think about that movement happening from deep inside the hip. So that leg bone is rotating in and rotating out like a screwdriver, deep inside the hip. And then stop with the rotating, and then just allow that right leg to come a little bit over that left leg as you pull that right leg back into the hip socket. And just breathing here. Nice deep, full breaths. And then allow that right leg to come back over the right hip. Remove that strap, holding that leg there. Let your arms be beside you, palms facing up. Bend your knee if it starts to pull into your back, pressing the opposite foot into the floor. And you're just going to start to make circles with your ankle. And then going the opposite way with the circles. And then stopping with the circles, you're going to flex the foot, sole of the foot flat and level. You're then going to curl the toes like you're holding on to a pencil. You're going to point the foot like a dancer, and then you're going to flip the toes back to you. One more round. Flex, curl, point, and flip. Good. And then bending that knee, you're going to interlace your fingers over that right shin, right hand on top of left, pulling it in, relax your shoulders, and just take a few breaths there. And then letting that foot come down. You can either do a creeper pose, which is soles of the feet on the floor, knees apart, or you can allow the soles of the feet to clap, knees apart for a cobbler. Place your hands on your belly and take some nice, big, beautiful breaths into your hands. And just staying there as you continue to focus. With each inhalation, feel that belly expanding. And with each exhalation, pull your belly to your back. Few more breaths here. Listening to your hips. If you need less, just put the soles of the feet on the floor. And then when you're ready, we're going to lift those knees. We're going to take our strap in the middle and we're going to place it over the soles of the feet. We're going to straighten those legs as much as we can, taking those feet a little bit apart so that they're at hips distance, and then crossing the strap. We're then going to have our elbows bent, pulling apart to the sides, and as we pull with our hands, our legs are going to push back into that strap. With each inhale, feel your body expanding, and with each exhale, feel your body gently contracting. If your shoulders fatigue, you can take a little break by putting your elbows on the floor. If your fingers fatigue, you can wrap your palms, but try not to wrap your fingers at all. Use as much muscle as you can to pull on the straps as the legs push back into those straps. Big inhales, big exhales. And then keeping that strap over the left foot, you're going to bend that right knee, sole the right foot on the floor. And we're going to start by pointing and flexing that left foot. And if it's hard to keep the leg straight, you just take that foot further away from you. And then flexing that foot, I'm going to do it in circles. So it's almost like you're drawing zeros with your heel, trying to keep zero rotation. And if it's easy, you can start to walk that right foot away from you anytime you like. The straighter it is, the deeper the stretch will be. So softening the stretch by bending the knee. And let's go with circles the other direction. And then stopping with the circles, pull with the strap, push with the foot, nice big, beautiful breaths. And then let's internally and externally rotate that leg like a screwdriver. You want to think about that movement happening from the lower part of your body here, from the leg bone inside the hip. And then zero rotation, press into both feet, pull the strap apart, and then just allowing that left leg to come over to that right side just a little bit as you pull down on that leg. It's like you're pulling that leg back into the hip and just finding your breaths here. Pelvis staying level, nice big breaths. And then eventually allowing that left leg to come back over the hip, bending that right knee if you've straightened it out. Remove the strap. And pointing your foot. Again, if you can bend your knee, it's going to be easier. Straight leg will be harder as you point your foot and you make nice circles with your foot. And then changing direction. And then flex the foot, curl the toes, point the foot, flip just the toes. So we're going to flex, we're going to curl, or few more breaths here. And then bending that knee, placing that foot on the floor. Let's let our knees touch as we heel toe the feet apart, pigeon toeing slightly. Let those arms come up like a cactus, where you've got a 90-degree angle in your arms, shoulders relaxing. You can stay laying down, but I'll sit up so that you can see what I'm doing. So with this 90-degree angle, I want you to think about almost like you're karate chopping out into your forearms, and then you're going to bring those wrists right over those elbows and back down to the floor. I'm just getting that nice, gentle rotation in the arms. And you're lying on the floor as you do this. Then bringing those hands back so they're as close to the floor as they can be. If you find that your wrists are kind of flexing and you're getting kind of wrinkles in the backs of the wrists, you can get rid of those wrist wrinkles. And then close your eyes and just breathing here. Big, beautiful breaths. And then bringing those hands back onto the rib cage, heel toe, your feet in. We're going to roll off to the side. We're going to push ourselves up. And we're going to find ourselves in a seated position. If you want to, you can still sit on a blanket or a towel, but if you don't need to, you don't need to. Bring those knees and ankles together. You can take your hands behind your legs, grabbing a wrist, a forearm, an elbow, whatever you got. Walk those feet in nice and close, and then just curl your spine, bringing your forehead down towards your knees. And just some nice big breaths into your back. And then bringing your chin up, walk your feet away, swap the crosses so you've got the opposite arm on top, opposite hand on top. As you bring those legs in, give them a good hug, curl down towards the knees and breathe. And then bringing your gaze up, release your arms. Let's bring those legs out in front of us. We can have our fingers pointing back, shoulders back, lift your chest. Start with your knees and your toes pointing straight up towards the sky. Push into your fingers and your palms. You're going to pick up your right leg. You're going to externally rotate it, and you're going to take it out just a little bit. And then you're going to internally rotate, and you're going to bring it in. You're going to externally rotate and take it out. You're going to internally rotate and bring it in. And the opposite heel stays rooted, centered. The toes and the knees are pointing right up towards the sky. If it's comfortable and you're getting the rotation, the movement can grow, but it's more important to get the rotation at the leg bone than it is to go super deep in this posture. And then that foot arrives down, we do the other one, lift up that leg, externally rotate, take it out, internally rotate, bring it in. And watching that the opposite leg stays with its neutral rotation, toes and knees pointing up towards the sky. And then both feet down. You're going to come up, you're going to bend your knees, heels are going to dig in, knees and feet are going to be a hips distance apart, hands are going to come behind those knees, find a nice straight spine as you lean back, and you're just going to lift those feet. Legs push into hands, hands pull on legs, big beautiful breaths. Again, we're trying to keep our knees and our feet, that about hips distance apart here. I'm just looking for that symmetry, noticing if the knees are wider than the ankles or vice versa. Heart center lifting. A little padding underneath your seat if you feel like you need it. Lift the ankles if that's appropriate, and you can do so without losing your alignment of your back or your legs. And then bend your knees. Let the soles of the feet clap. Let those knees come apart, and you can come forward over those feet, just kind of taking it to wherever it is you like to go to. Finding a spot that's comfortable to hold. These big, beautiful breaths. And then when you're ready, nice inhale to come up. Draw those knees together. We're going to come into a tabletop position. So the base of the index finger is down, the middle finger points forward, hands are as wide as the mat, toes are tucked, lift your belly, lift your ribs. And then take your hands to your knees, lift your knees, walk your hands to your feet, taking your seat back. Eventually knees are right over the ankles. Let your hands come onto your thighs, straighten out those arms. So eventually you've got a nice straight back, straight arms. Take a few breaths here. Block out those elbows. And checking that those feet are as wide as your hips or your shoulders. Pull in your belly. And then when you're ready, you're going to release those hands, press into those feet to come all the way up. Take those feet to a hips distance apart. Let those palms face forward, shoulders relax, and just finding your breath here. And then when you're ready, we're going to take our hands onto those thighs, keeping the feet at hips distance apart. And take our hands down onto the knees, pull in our belly, arms are straight, fix our gaze. And then we're just going to see if we can kind of lean into the toes and just lift those heels just a tiny little bit. Okay? And if it's easy, you can lift your heels a little bit more. Try to keep your gaze fixed on one point. Pull that belly in. And then dropping your heels down, find your weight even in your feet, release your hands, push down into those legs to come up. Let those palms face forward, shoulders back. Find a few breaths here. Big inhales, big exhales. Let's do one more round, maybe going a little bit deeper. Bend your knees. Feel like you can take your knees and your butt back. Hands come onto the knees. Feet are a hips distance apart and symmetrical. Maybe you can come onto your elbows without changing your back. Keep your gaze on one point. Pull in your belly and see if you can lift up those feet. Big, beautiful breaths. Fixing your gaze. And then when you're ready, drop down onto those feet, pull in your belly, and see if you can start to straighten your legs without your back changing. And just go to where those legs can be comfortably straight, the back isn't punching, the shoulders are relaxed, and just hang out there and breathe. And then bending your knees a little more generously. Hands come onto the knees. Straighten out those arms. Find nice strong arms. Push into those legs. Right? We get dizzy if we don't have a strong upper back and legs. So we can really push into our hands to find the upper back engaged, shoulders engaged, arms engaged, legs are engaged, and then we can come right up again. Knees and feet are at hips distance apart, shoulders back, pull in your belly. Let those palms face forward. And again, just finding your breath here. Big, beautiful breaths. And then hands on the hips, elbows back, shoulders back. Bring those thighs to touch. Lift up one heel. So just one heel lifts up like we did previously. And then just see if you can keep the spine and the shoulders and the elbows. And just start to lift your foot. Maybe you can start to lift it a little higher. Just see what you can do. Pressing that opposite foot really firmly down into the floor as you breathe. Want to keep a little bit of a bend in that left knee unless you know your knees are totally not giving you any, problems lately, not causing you any pain. And then bring that foot down. Thighs touching, elbows back, shoulders back. Find your breath, pull in your belly, bend your knees, lift that left heel. Then when you're ready, just nice and slow. Try not to move anything else, just the leg lifts, right? So you lift the heel, everything else stays still, just nice and slow. We start to lift that left leg up. Really pressing the opposite foot into the floor. And then letting that foot come down, good. Palms forward, shoulders back, take those feet a little wider. You can rock out on those feet if you like to. And let's try it again. So hands on hips, elbows back, bring the knees together, thighs together, bend your knees. Lift up just the right heel and see if you can float that right leg up. Fixing your gaze on one spot. I'm just breathing here. And then letting that foot come down. Let's see if we can go right to the other side. Pull those elbows back. Keep everything else still. Lift that left heel. And then just floating that left leg up. It helps if you keep your gaze fixed on one spot. And then letting that foot come down, walk those feet so they're hips distance apart. Lift those palms so they face forward. Good. Then see if you can internally and externally rotate those arm bones. So you want to think about this happening from right inside the shoulder. So we go all the way external, all the way internal. I'm just looking for that movement inside the shoulder. Good. As we continue to do that movement, if it's comfortable, we're going to bring that movement up, a bit like a T. And then we're going to see if we can bring that movement in front of us, like a zombie. And then back out like a T. And then back down like an Irish dancer as we continue to internally and externally rotate. And then let those palms face forward, close your eyes, find your breath. And then we're going to interlace our fingers, right hand on top of left hand. We're going to bend our elbows and we're going to put the hands behind the back of the skull, right? So we want to have our elbows bent, we want our hands behind our skull, we're going to pull our elbows in, and we're going to reach with those elbows. We're going to try and get those elbows symmetrical, head pushing into hand. And then we're going to exhale to close, and we're going to inhale to open those elbows. And just working with that. And then we're going to place those elbows nice and wide. Good. And then with those elbows nice and wide, pull in your belly. And almost like you're just going to teeter-totter to one side. And then teeter-totter to the other side. We want to pull in our belly. We want to think about a little bit of an imprint of the low back as we go from side to side. And then we're going to come down to one side and we're going to hold to that side. Relax our forehead and just breathe. And then back to center, and then teeter-totter to the other side. Big breaths here. If it's too much for your shoulders at any point, just bring those arms down. And then back up to center. Bring those elbows right over the shoulders, right? So those elbows are going to be right in front of the shoulders, and then you're going to start to make circles with the elbows. Change direction with those circles. And then stopping with those circles, reach with your elbows, gently push into your head, pull in your belly, and just lift your heels up just a little bit. Relax your forehead, relax your jaw. Just a little lift in the heels as you reach those elbows forward. And then drop your heels, bring your hands up, flip your palms face up, put the hands on the top of the skull, relax your shoulders. Good. And then just push those palms up, just to wherever you can, right? It doesn't have to be very far, just take them to where you can. Pull in your belly and just lift your heels up, just a little bit. And then drop your heels down, let your fingers go, bring those arms down nice and slow. And then taking your hands and interlacing them behind your back, right hand on top of the left hand. Straighten out those arms, shoulders back. And then just tuck your chin down into your sternum. Just pull down with those arms a little bit. And then chin coming up, release your arms, let those palms face forward. Take a few big breaths here. Knees are a little bit bent. And then we'll do the opposite crossing. We're going to interlace our fingers, this time left hand on top of right, bend your elbows, put your hands to the back of the skull, head pushes into hands, hands push into head as we open and close those elbows. Pulling your belly in. And then elbows coming nice and wide, head pushes into hands, hands push into head. And then we're just going to do a little teeter-totter, one way, breathing, back up to center, over the other way, back up to center, and over, and back and forth. Then eventually we're going to hold on one side, reaching with the elbow, breathing. You can bring those arms down for a rest anytime you like. And then back to center, over to the other side, breathing. And then back up to center. Bring those elbows forward so that they're pointing straight ahead and start to make circles with the elbows. Trying to keep your neck strong, head's not moving. Change direction with those elbow circles. And stopping with those elbow circles, reach those elbows forward, right? Keep them that shoulders distance apart. Pull in your belly and lift your heels, even if it's just a little bit. Get those heels off the floor. Get those elbows symmetrical. And then release those heels down. Bring your hands, flip your palms so they face up towards the sky. Put your hands on your head, relax your shoulders, and then just pushing those palms towards the ceiling. A little bend in the knees, pull in your belly, maybe lift your heels again. And then dropping your heels, release those arms, let them come down nice and slow. And then eventually, you're going to interlace your fingers behind your back, left hand on top. You're going to straighten those arms as much as you can, and then you're going to drop your chin towards your sternum. And chin coming up, release your arms, let those palms face forward. Close your eyes, and just breathing here. Big, beautiful breaths. And then when you're ready, you're just going to lift just the shoulders. So when you're ready, you're going to inhale to lift those shoulders up by the ears, and then out through the mouth. Last one. Beautiful. And then letting those arms kind of rest down. We're going to internally rotate. We're going to put the hands on the low back, and we're going to bring those elbows forward. And then we're just going to allow that right ear to come down towards the right shoulder as we breathe. Big, beautiful breaths. And then rotate the chin towards the shoulder. Keep working the elbows forward, gently, without force, pushing your hands into your sacrum. And then chin comes back up to center. Opposite ear is going to come down. And then rotating your chin towards that shoulder. And then chin comes back up to center. Release those arms. Externally rotate so the palms face forward. Just take a few breaths here. And then when you're ready, you're going to bring your hands onto your knees, bent knees, straight back, really pull in your belly, and then you're going to walk your hands out into a tabletop position. And if your knees are sensitive, you can pop that blanket or towel underneath. Take your hands as wide as your shoulders, put your knees right underneath your hips, tuck your toes, move your hands a little bit forward if you need to, and then we're going to exhale to curl our spine. We're going to inhale, shoulders back, sit bones lift, gazing up. So just moving that spine back and forth. Nice comfortable position. Back and forth with your spine, pressing your hands into the floor, pushing into your fingertips. And if you feel your wrists, you just move those hands further forward. And then from here, we're going to drop down onto our elbows, placing the elbows under the shoulders. And we're going to do that same movement. Angry kitty cow. Back and forth with the spine. And a nice straight spine. You're going to come onto your hips, sweeping your legs through. I just think it's nice to have something underneath your pelvis or your head since you have it there. And you're going to come down onto your back, nice and slow. We're going to bring those legs nice and close to our belly, squeezing the knees and the ankles together. Place your hands on your ribs. Place your elbows on the floor. And if it's comfortable, just rocking your legs from side to side without your elbows or your ribs lifting. So you want to learn how to press the back rib cage down into the floor as we let our legs go from side to side. And then eventually taking your legs over to the right to hold. And just breathing there. And then taking your legs over to the left to hold. And then legs coming to center. Bring your feet onto the floor. Again, keep your elbows down, hands down, and just kind of move your knees from side to side. And letting the low back move, but keeping those ribs kind of stable. If you feel your knees, just don't go as far. And then coming to the side, the right side to hold. And again, you don't have to go all the way to the floor. You can resist a little bit. Listen to your knees. Find your breath here. And then start by lifting your top leg, then your bottom leg, and then going side to side again like windshield wipers. Just going to where it feels good. You can keep your ribs and your elbows down. And the next time we come to the left side, we go to the left side to hold. Again, you can back off a little bit, especially if you feel your knees. If you feel your back, you back off a little bit. And just breathing here. Next, staying nice and neutral. And then when you're ready, you're going to lift your top leg, your bottom leg. You're going to bring your arms beside you. You're going to straighten out your spine. And then you're going to lift your pelvis with just a little itty bitty back bend. Right? Pressing into your feet. Making sure that your ankles and your knees are stacked. If your quads are tight today and you feel your knees, just take those feet further away from you to come into it. You're going to hold this one as long as you can, pushing down into your arms, your feet, Lifting your pelvis. Stay here a while. When you're done holding this, you come down, you give those legs a nice long hug, and then you take your Shavasana. You're giving yourself a nice long Shavasana, using a nidra or a nice yoga relaxing song that you love. Thanks for joining me today and sharing your practice. Namaste. Namaste. Be well.